Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Meg Hofdahl.
And this special episode that we're going to start having is if we see a new horror movie after it comes out fairly quickly, we're going to talk about the new horror movie. So it's kind of like a fast-forward episode. And you know what we saw last night? Hereditary.
Oh my fucking God!
So just so you know, this episode will be full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to know anything, then, don't listen. But come back after you've seen the movie and see how your thoughts compare. So tell us a few facts about the movie, Meg.
Well, it's starring Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne, and Alex Wolff is the young actor in it, and a little girl named Millie Shapiro, who this is sort of kind of her first film, I think. And it's directed by Ari Aster. I'm looking that up right now to see. I'm IMDbing. You guys are listening to me IMDb right now.
So it was written and directed by the same person, and this movie had and has a lot of hype. It's saying it's the scariest thing since The Exorcist and all this stuff, so it had a lot to live up to in our minds.
Yeah, it definitely did, and I kept trying to kind of put my expectations down, because when people say things like it's this our generation's The Exorcist and stuff, you start to really kind of get yourself worked up. At least I was, but I have to say, even though my expectations were high, it was still so good.
Yes, it still completely blew me away, and I was shocked at how much I loved it. What do you see that this director/writer has done before?
All of the things before I've never heard of. I think this is definitely the breakout movie for sure.
Is it a man or a woman?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was Ari Aster. Oh, it's a man.
Okay, just curious, because that name could be either, I think. So, to set up the movie, and this isn't a spoiler, but this woman's mother dies. Toni Collette's mother dies, and it's a complicated relationship. She was estranged from her mother for a while. Now her mother has dementia and dissociative personality disorder or identity disorder, and it just sounds like a weird dynamic. And all of a sudden her mother has died, and her daughter, this Toni Collette's daughter, had such a bond with her, and she's like, who's going to raise me now? And it was kind of weird. It's like, oh,
the setup is done so well. It's amazing how when I came out of it, I was like, that filmmaker took so much time setting things up and doing, I think what's so important, what I try to do when I write literature, and I think is important in horror films, is giving you just a little bit of flavors of things that are wrong. Because that's what's scary, are things that are just slightly left of center. And then, of course, the crescendo of that. But there were so many great little moments dealing with the miniatures that the main character, that played by Toni Collette, makes. And there's just all these tiny little subtle things, even though the setup is sort of kind of it could, on paper, even sound like an average movie, the mom dies, the grandma dies in the family, how does that affect the family? On paper that sounds like it could be a Lifetime movie, but of course it's the deft work of this filmmaker, and of course the wonderful acting that just ratchets up the suspense right away.
So something is a little off about this little girl. She looks like she likes dark things. She's drawing creepy pictures. She distorts things. She collects weird things and is putting together these figures that aren't exactly right. Nothing like her mother's. It's like the opposite of what her mother's doing. Her mother is working in perfection and recreating reality, and her daughter is making these things that's distorting it. And it's so bizarre. And there's this one scene when she's in school, and her teacher kind of yells at her a little bit, tells her to do her work, finish her quiz, and it almost seems like the little girl causes this bird to slap against the window and die. I mean, maybe that's just a coincidence, but it's almost like she has some sort of power. And then we see her staring at the scissors on her teacher's desk. And my first instinct was she wants to take those and stab her teacher. But what we find out, she goes and cuts the bird's head off.
Yeah, that was great. And yeah, I know when she sort of zeroed in on the scissors, it was like, whoa, what is she thinking? And yeah, I mean, we're all for girls who like dark things, but she's definitely sort of humorless and very serious, and these dark ideas sort of that she's coming up with, like cutting a bird's head off. That's definitely problematic. And it's a great scene when that bird hits the window, because all the other kids react like basically normal or average kids would react, and she doesn't even look over there. And it's kind of this first hint that there might be something supernatural going on, which I loved the interplay of psychological horror and supernatural horror in this movie. I like both of those things. Psychological horror, I think, is tougher to pull off, yet they did it so well. But the interplay of that plus the supernatural just sort of brings this movie to like one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time.
Absolutely. There's beautiful imagery throughout, and the house in this tree house for the setting is almost a character in itself, because these different places in the house and what is in each room and who lives or lived in each room. And another thing I really noticed that I loved is the dialogue. There's a scene where the older brother is talking to the mom, and it just was a really real conversation. And this is the turning point of the film. It turns out he's going to go to this party. He ends up having to bring his little sister with. And I just got a pit in my stomach just thinking about what's coming.
Yeah, we were talking after. It was funny when we were watching the movie, because we both had the same physical reaction. We both kind of like grabbed our mouths like in disbelief. When what happens is that the older brother was a teenager. His sister has a nut allergy. She has a bad reaction. He's racing to the hospital to try to save her, and basically what ends up happening is she opens the window and sticks her head out the window, which, by the way, side note, I just realized I'm going to have a talk with my kids about not doing. And she ends up accidentally getting decapitated by a light pole. And at that point, Kelly and I were like, oh my God. And a pin could drop in that theater.
So if you noticed, when they showed them driving to the party, they showed the light pole and it had the witch symbol on it.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
So, but of course you don't know, like, there's no way this is going to come into play. But she's literally trying to catch her breath. The brother ends up swerving to avoid, like, a dead deer or something. And her freaking head falls off. They don't show it at that point, though, so you don't even really know what has happened. It's the most shocking, terrifying moment. They take so much time to just show him sitting there and coming to realization, and he just drives home. He doesn't ever look back. He gets into bed, and I assume he stayed awake all night with his eyes open, just waiting.
And again, that's a great example of a movie not being afraid to like take its time, because after the accident, this poor young man is sitting in the car and sort of grappling with what just happened. And it was such wonderful acting, such wonderful directing, and he ends up just driving home, like Kelly said, and it's like, I don't know, I was absolutely gripped. Like, my eyes would not blink. I was just so captivated by everything about that scene. And then when he's laying in bed and it's morning now, and you can hear Toni Collette saying that she's going to go into the car, and you know what she's going to find in there. It is a sort of horror that is so difficult to convey in film, yet they did it. They conveyed this sort of horror that so many movies attempt and can't do.
Some other elements that just pop out in this moment: the subtlety of it, showing his face listening to what's happening, and that it's not us being there to discover this decapitated body with her, but we just know. And then they show the head on the side of the road, which is terrifying. And then just all of these scenes that they've included and put together. Toni Collette deserves all the awards. She's an amazing actress. She has several monologues and several scenes that were gut-wrenching and real, and it is so well done. Now at this point too, that's horrific on its own, and that could be the movie, but there's a supernatural element, and there's this contact with spirits, and there's this possible witchcraft. We don't really know what's going on at this point, and it's so freaking creepy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and this is one of those movies too where it's not going to walk you through everything. It's not going to hold your hand. I can't wait to watch it again because I feel like there's going to be so much watching it through again. I really hope I can convince Luke to see it. I don't know. We'll see. But there's so much I can tell. It's such a dense movie that... Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a ride. You don't know. I mean, there were moments where I was like, maybe she is crazy. Maybe she did dig up her mom. Like, did you feel that way?
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it. They set it up so well, so you're not really sure, what is really happening and which way this could go. Part of what works so well with this psychological horror is that it could be your dead sister or your dead grandma, their ghost, standing in the room watching over you. It could be an apparition. It could be a zombie form of them, like their dead body actually crawled out of a grave. It could be just in your mind because you're thinking about it constantly. Your mind's playing tricks on you. Like, there's so many possibilities when you know that you're going into this, and it could happen to any of us. I mean, how often have you woken up and thought you saw somebody in your room, or you had a dream and you're like, did that really happen? And so it sets it up really well. Another actress in the movie is Ann Dowd. She's a character called Joan who ends up befriending Toni Collette, and she is amazing. The women in this story are amazing, and the male characters as well are written really well. So. But of course, we're always focusing on, are women represented? What are their characters like?
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the females in this movie, but yeah, also the males. I thought that the kid who plays Peter, the son, was amazing, and that was not an easy role to play, and what a thing to go through as a character arc. And I was also saying, like, Gabriel Byrne, like, it's probably not one of my favorite actors. I don't really feel too much about him, but I felt like his role was exactly what it should have been. It was sort of perfect for the movie. But yeah, Toni Collette, all the awards. Oh my God, she was amazing. That scene where she's like begging him to throw the book in the fire. Just and the scene when she finds out that her daughter's dead, and just, oh my God. Okay, so I didn't tell you this. So we're sitting at a park right now watching our kids play, and right before we left, you got in the car, and Dexter, my 7-year-old, looks at me and he's like, Mom, I know how to kill a ghost. And I said, oh, okay, how? He said, you dig up their body and you cut their head off. And that kills their ghost.
We have not talked about anything in front of him.
Nope. I haven't said anything about this movie.
Okay, that is terrifying.
He literally said dig up a body and cut their head off, like 5 minutes before we left to go do this. I was like, I feel not okay right now.
Okay, that is really scary. How did he come up with that?
I don't know.
Holy crap. So the movie progresses, and we find out Joan isn't who she seemed, and we already had hints that this mother, the grandmother, the matriarch of the family, had some secrets in the past, and there's all these little clues embedded in throughout the setup, which it is definitely long and slow, but it's worth it. It's a slow burn, and it's worth it. The payoff is worth it, and all these clues are embedded. That's why it's going to be so awesome to watch it again, that are letting you know that something is not right, and this history of mental illness. And that's the other thing. It's not necessarily a red herring, but you start to think, well, maybe she is just going crazy.
There was that whole mention of, and I keep saying Toni Collette. I know, what is her character's name? Any clue? Annie.
Is it Annie?
Maybe. Let's go with Annie. She says that her brother killed himself because his mom kept putting people in him. And so that was a really cool, like, clue, but also a red herring too, because, you know, it could be just mental illness, and she mentioned dissociative identity disorder, and you just don't know what's going on. But yeah, there's this whole clue with symbols. And then I think what was so cool about the seance, the first seance scene, is at that point there still hadn't been like a ton of supernatural things happening. And when the seance scene happened and it was so extreme, you felt like Annie in that moment where it's like, wait, what? I can't handle this.
Yeah, it's so weird. And she literally, like I feel like most of us would do, looks under the table to see who's pulling the string and, you know, is this magnets, what's happening? So Joan teaches her how to conduct a seance. It's a little sketchy, but, you know, there's that level of hope. And, oh my God, when she's on the way home from the seance, she's in the car crying, and she hears her daughter do this clicking noise with her mouth, which is like her signature noise, which was a little disturbing. And she hears it for the first time, and surround sound in the theater was made for movies like this.
Yeah, they were really playing with, like, they'd have the sound on one side, the sound on the other. So I hope a lot of people go see this in the theater, because that was the way to experience it. But, oh my gosh, you know, it's been compared to The Exorcist, and I see why, in the sense of that slow burn and, like, the buildup of this sort of, like, world that seems okay and normal with these little, like, hints of not okay, and then sort of extreme, we get to that extreme supernatural. So the climax of this movie, I just kept wanting to, I didn't, but I, like, wanted to grab your arm.
You should have grabbed it, because I would have welcomed that. Okay, just, you know what I was just thinking of, the scene that creeped me out? The son, they trap him, but he is trying to escape his mother, who was just on the ceiling, by the way.
Yeah.
He's trying to escape her, and after he finds his father's burnt corpse, and his hands are like claws.
I feel like I'm gonna, like that song, like, I had a bad day.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so they trap him he runs up into the attic, and he closes the attic door just in time to escape his mother, and then somehow she's on the ceiling of the attic door, pounding her head on the attic door.
Oh my God, when she's pounding her head
and she's upside down on the ceiling.
It's not okay. Oh my God. See, and that's the thing, is there's so much, I have chills right now, so much slow build up to when you get to that point. It's so fucking scary. That's how you do it. This is masterclass. This is how it's done.
This is how you make a horror movie, and you scare the shit out of people who watch a lot of horror movies. And it brings you there because it's so extreme. You feel like you're jumping out of your skin at that point.
Oh yeah, it is so unnerving. That's if I could use one word to describe this whole movie, it's so unnerving. There's so many little shots and things, and that climax, and I mean, let's not even talk about Annie cutting her own head off, that are so upsetting at that point that, oh my God. That's all I can say. It was, I kept thinking, I literally was mouthing, oh my God, while I was watching it. The girl next to me was saying, like, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was amazing. So it was opening night, Thursday night showing, preview night as they call it. We had a crowd, mainly I would say younger, like older high school or younger college age people, and I think they were expecting more jump scares and things just because of how they were ready to react. But even though maybe they came in with that expectation, it was still silent when it needed to be silent, and it was still freaking out when people, like, you know, it got its intended reactions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie is made for people who love horror movies, and that are well versed in them, and that like the ones that have subverted expectations and that aren't the sort of typical standard ones. So I think there were people that came in. Yeah, I definitely got that feeling just from hearing conversations and things, that people were sort of hoping for maybe more a standard horror movie, that came in and are maybe more like casual horror fans. I definitely wouldn't recommend this one to a casual horror fan. This is for people who really love the psychological mindfuck that film can do to you. It kind of tonally made me think of The Witch a little bit.
Oh yeah, I definitely see that. And that too, you don't really know what's going on. Is it supernatural? Is it in her mind? Is like, ooh, it's so creepy. Oh my gosh. So many moments, so many things. Just what else? Can you think of other moments that just totally messed you up and creeped you out? Oh, there's a scene where, and it's in the preview, but the son is in class and he looks at his reflection in the glass and his reflection is smiling back at him, and then all of a sudden he starts going through like some seizure kind of things. It's almost like someone has a voodoo doll of him or something. It is so wrong.
Yeah, and again, it's that idea of just things that are scary are just things that are just a little bit slightly to the left or the right. It's just that little tweak that can make things so scary. You don't need, for filmmakers out there who are on a shoestring budget right now, you don't need big, huge effects sometimes. I mean, literally, that was pretty much acting. So, I don't know. I was just blown away, and I hope nobody listened to this who hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, we warned you at the beginning. But, like, okay, for example, imagine a practical effect of actually trying to show the decapitation happen. They didn't have to. You knew what was going to happen. You heard the sound, and you saw the reaction. This is, like you said, masterclass. This is how it's done.
Mm-hmm. Less is more sometimes. And like you were saying before, we didn't watch her go and look at the decapitated body, but we listened to it, and that was worse than seeing what she saw in that car. Like, our imagination sort of took the rest of the way.
Yeah, like sometimes you don't need to see a monster. It's almost scary if you don't see it, because you can imagine something worse probably than they can show you. Oh my God, another moment when, I mean, I feel like she was decapitated by this point, but Toni Collette, Annie, she like ascended and like floated into the treehouse.
Yes, yeah, that was like her headless body. That made me think of Witch a little bit. But yeah, that was disturbing. Oh my God, there's just so many. There's one point where she's looking at a photo album and there's a picture in there that makes no sense. It was a picture of a picture. Do you know what I'm talking about? I have chills right now. It was very like Shining-esque, where it was kind of like an image that was just like there, and we're talking, there's like trucks going by, trains going by, boats going by, but it was just like that these sort of images that don't make sense, and they're there literally just to make your stomach like do a flip.
Because if you were looking through your anybody's like who had passed away, looking through their personal effects, and you're finding this weird stuff, it's just like, oh my God, what don't I know? Who don't I know? Another weird thing, right away in the beginning at the funeral, like the little girl goes up to see her grandmother's dead body, and there's just a guy like standing with a really big smile in the corner. Do you remember that?
No.
There's a guy, like, if you look past her, there's a guy just like smiling.
Fuck. Okay, I'm excited to watch it again and see. Oh my God.
And then somebody comes up to the dead body and puts something on her lips, like an essential oil or something.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Oh, it's just those little things. Oh, and the little girl, like, every time she sees something dead, she starts eating a chocolate bar. When she's looking at her dead grandma, she starts eating a chocolate bar, and then when she goes to look at the dead bird, she starts eating another chocolate bar.
I did not put that together. Oh my God. And then, of course, the little foreshadowing, but you just take it as like a line. It's like, does that have nuts in it? We don't have the EpiPen with.
Yeah. Yep. So some great little foreshadowing, and I'm excited to, like I said, see it again, because there are going to be other things I'm going to be like, oh my God. It's just so, I wish in my lifetime I could make something as profound and scary as that.
Wow. Anything else you think of that you want to say about Hereditary?
Go and support it. Go see it. Buy your tickets for it. Tweet about it. We want more movies made that are like this, please. So the best way to do that is just make it a big deal on social media, and let us know what you guys think. I'd love to know what little things that you caught that we missed. That would be fun to hear.
We're going to rank this movie on our scale of 0 to 10. Are we going to use decapitated birds, or you think?
I like that because we just did birds, and I'm always up for decapitating them.
So on a scale of 0 to 10 decapitated birds, 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect movie, what do you give Hereditary? Should we both give our score at the same time?
Okay.
We haven't told each other. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
10.
Yes. I think it's a perfect movie.
I saw someone on Twitter gave it 8 out of 10, and they're like, there's some problems with it. I'm like, I would love to know what those are. You have no idea what you're talking about. No offense, I'm sure there are people who disagree with us, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a perfect horror movie, and it's going to probably be in my top 10 most recent favorite horror movies for a long time.
Oh my gosh, mine too. And also, I did not see any problems with it. I freaking love this movie.
The end, can I just say, I have chills just thinking about the end, and like how the shot of him and the crown, and like it was so intense, and my heart was pounding. God.
And so it appears that this little girl was making these like effigies of these symbols that they use in this witchcraft or religion or whatever it is. I mean, I guess they think that it's actually like a demon or the devil or something reincarnate. And so then, and all of her toys are like on that altar in Joan's house. Like, what the frick is going on?
Yeah, there's so many layers, so many elements. Yeah, I guess this was about, they said one of the 8 princes of hell or something like that. At that point, it didn't even matter. I was just scared.
Yeah, I mean, it's creepy because it's like a cult, and they believe in this thing, and it's happening. I mean, like, it's happening.
They believe in something real. The dog died. I don't like that.
I know.
I won't take any points away for it, though.
No. Oh, my God. Okay. The thing that people say a lot is that, animals and small children can detect when a supernatural presence or something is off in someone. And the scene when the older brother, like, the dog is just freaking out, and you just know something's not right.
Yeah, dogs and anything, if they start freaking out. Like, I actually use that in, like, real life, where it's like, if my dog doesn't like somebody after a while, it's like, what's going on? What's wrong with you?
Your dog won't let me put him out, so what does that mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's true. It's a perfect example.
I mean,
Oh boy. So yes, that was creepy. And then he sees his sister in his bedroom, and her head falls off.
Oh boy. We could literally, there's so much. You could just mine this movie for so much. It's so good. I want more movies like this, please. It makes you think, it makes you feel. I was sitting on the edge of my seat. Sometimes I like to just watch garbage, and we all do. This is definitely not that. This is intense. It's thought-provoking, and God, this is what I love. This is what makes me excited about this genre, and to do my little tiny teeny part of this genre, and I'm just blown away.
So thank you to the filmmakers and everyone involved. We love this movie, so check out Hereditary. We hope that you have, if you've listened to this, because we gave everything away. But you know what? I think you'd still enjoy it.
Yeah, even if you listen to this and you haven't watched it yet, go watch it, and we want to hear what you think.
So until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.